Seriously, I think this is going to be the best combination going forward for new PC builds, because you're getting the best you can get at a budget price on a DDR4 platform. You're still getting a nice GPU with 16GB of VRAM, so it's going to save you money on some of the more overpriced components, and it's still going to last you many, many years. There are plenty of good DDR4 CPUs still around, and most people gravitate towards the Ryzen 5000 series, but I actually think the 14600K is really the way to go here. You're not going to get this kind of performance from a Ryzen 5 5600, so this is going to be your best bet for a PC that's going to last you a good few years on DDR4. The conversation would of course be different if the Ryzen 5700X3D was still available at reasonable price, but truth is, it really isn't. So this is the best choice, and it comes in around sort of the £200 mark, which is okay value. One of the themes of this video is going to be ways to save money to try and get good value on a gaming PC, even in these bad times. So I've got this Asus TUF Gaming B760M Plus DDR4 version. I only paid £75 for it, guys, and it is actually a pretty nice motherboard. Only downside is it doesn't come with Wi-Fi, so we'll have to pick up a Wi-Fi card. So we're using this WD Green. Obviously WD Green is more of the lower spec of SSDs, but I don't think we can be too picky. It does actually have some fairly decent speed of 5000, and I believe it does have host memory buffer, so it's going to be good enough. It's not top spec, but it's going to get the job done. And I picked this up for about £65 about 2 weeks ago. So you can sometimes find deals, you're just going to have to be really hot on looking. And in general, SSDs are one of those things that people do tend to overspend on, in my opinion. People always want those Samsung 990 Pros or whatever, but actually for their workload it's probably not going to be noticeable if you put in a slightly lower spec SSD. We all know that DRAM is an absolute bugger to get, but you can still occasionally find some, I'm going to call them deals-ish. I got this NetAct Shadow kit, it was around a month ago in truth, but I got this for £125. It's 32GB of DDR4 3200 speed, and that's going to get us through no problem. I know that was a month ago, but only last week did I see a deal come up on Hot UK Deals, which is a deals alert site, and there was a very, very similar kit to this. I think it was Kingston branded, and it was £140 for 32GB, which in these times is considered quite good. Obviously, normally that wouldn't be considered good. One of the things I'm excited about with this build is actually using this Deepcool AIO with the Deepcool case, because I think it's all going to sit together really nicely. And of course this LM360 cooler has a digital display, and I really like the way that Deepcool make their digital displays look. I think they're really classy. I think this is going to look fantastic, but we'll obviously see that with the final result. So our platform is completed there. So it's got kind of quite nice industrial dark look to it at the moment. I think this is a very good start, and I've actually just noticed there's still a peel on the back there. So we'll take that off, and then we'll move to mounting everything into the case in just a moment. Now that the platform is complete, I can introduce you to the case we'll be using. So this is the Deepcool CG380 3F version. 3F meaning it comes with the 3 fans. So it's an atrium sort of fish tank style case, you know, it's that classic sort of 2 glass sides type deal going on. And we have the 2 reverse bladed intake fans and the 1 rear exhaust fan there, so pretty standard setup. Obviously one of the downsides of an atrium style case is because you have those 2 side fans in the side there. You don't have as much room for cable management, but we can still make this work no problem. We're not going to be using any cable extensions, and you've got plenty of stuffing room along the bottom there as well as an integrated RGB and PWM hub, which is nice to see. And that's going to bring me nicely into one thing I probably don't recommend you actually do in your build. So I have a Corsair RM650E. The sole reason I'm including this in the build is because I got it at a really good price of £52 on a special deal. But I actually recommend you get a 750 watt bronze, something like a Deepcool PL750D. Get you a little bit more headroom, more upgrade friendly, but there's nothing wrong with an RM650E, it's just a little bit more capped on the upside. I forgot to record a voiceover at the time, so I'm doing it now. Just installing the motherboard. I usually lay the PC case down to do this, but for the benefit of filming, I've kept it upright this time, but it's not very exciting, so let's just fly through that. In terms of the liquid cooler, some people like to put the radiator in the case first and then mount the pump head. I prefer to do it the other way, put the pump head outside the case and then put the radiator in at the end. Now I said earlier we're going to need some Wi-Fi, so I've got this Acoustics Wi-Fi 6 PCI add-in card. I could have got a really cheap one like a lot of pre-built sellers do with those 300 megabits ones, but I'm not cheaping out like that. The customer needs a good Wi-Fi card. It's got Bluetooth included and it's just going to slot right in really easily at the bottom of this motherboard. Finally, the 9060 XT 16 gigabyte. This is I guess I'd call this the premier version of this graphics card. It's the nicest looking, it's got a thick cooler. It is the Sapphire Nitro Plus version, and I think it's fantastic. I picked up this GPU for just £330, but that was about a month ago. And nowadays, I would just suggest you get the cheapest 9060 XT 16 gigabyte that is available. People often ask me about cable management tips. I don't really have any, it's just experience. So the main things that you need to keep in mind are try to route things down the most efficient paths, keep it looking neat in the front, and keep it serviceable. There's no point tying things down to within an inch of their life to make it look pretty. One, because you're never going to see it because there's a steel panel on the back, and two, it's going to make it harder for you to upgrade stuff in the future because you're going to have to remove about 10 billion cable ties. So just keep it simple. It really doesn't matter that much as long as the front looks good and you can get to what you need to get to. So our build is complete. I'm just going to remove this little sticker over the digital screen, and we'll be back tomorrow when the lighting is better to see the result. So the final result is shown on screen. I think this came out really nicely, especially because we're optimizing for budget and aesthetics. You can see that it came out really clean. All the RGB matches up. Even the graphics card kind of matches up with the fans. You'll notice that I've got an anti-sag system in addition to the one that came with it because it just wasn't doing the job. But I was really happy with how it came out. I think the digital display on the deep cools are a bit more understated, and I quite like that. We'll get on to some game testing in a sec, but the first thing I want to show off is just how quiet this machine is. You can see we've got the decibelometer on screen here. The noise floor is between 33 and 34 decibels anyway, but it only went up to 38 dBA, even under full tilt, and I think that's really good. It's down to the overkill cooling, obviously, because a 360mm cooler isn't necessarily required for a 14600K, but it was essentially the same price as other brands, and it has the LCD display and it filled the case out, so I went for it, but it does really, really hum along very quietly. On screen now you can see the most clapped screenshot ever, but it does show the information we need. So CPU did pull around 185 watts at peak, and it did hit up to 86 degrees sometimes, that's the package temperature, but the average was around the 70s, which for a stress test in prime 95 is really, really good actually. Then in the Radeon graphics, temperatures were absolutely cool as you like, 56 degrees, but it doesn't take much to cool a 9060 XT. So overall I find that cooling is excellent, and as you'll see in the game test, it's even better when you're in a game situation because you don't use that much power. So we've got some Cyberpunk running here, 1440p resolution, and the ray tracing medium preset, which I believe puts most of the settings on high, but ray tracing on medium. Let's see how we do with this system. So 68 FPS is pretty good, and AMD have come a long way with their ray tracing capabilities. You wouldn't have got this kind of thing on the equivalent from previous series, so that's actually quite impressive actually, I think. Okay, dropping into Fortnite, 1440p resolution, with all the settings on low, apart from draw distance, which is set to epic. I'm gonna die. Well, there you go. 278 average FPS, 1% of 150, which is pretty nice because you've got your 1% being better than half of your average, so that's pretty good overall. All right then, Apex Logies, 1440p. Most of the settings are on high or very high, so 134 FPS. It's kind of all right. I think recently they changed the engine on this game, right? It used to be DX11. I think it's it's DX12 now. So I'm wondering if that's had an effect on the performance. So we'll have to see when I do testing on other systems. I would have expected this system to be hitting a bit higher than this, more like 160, 170. Oh, someone was looking at me the whole time. So 135 FPS. I guess I do have everything on high, and I wouldn't really play Apex Legends this way. So that's probably what's happening here. If we turn these settings down to low or medium, I think we'd be getting a much better experience. Not that it's horrible, it's smooth enough. Okay, Battlefield 6, 1440p high settings. No frame gen, of course, just plain native stuff. So we're hitting around 80 FPS. It is an exceptionally smooth feeling 80 FPS though, I must say. This isn't like a gross 80 FPS. Oh, I didn't know that was their tank. Well, there you go. But this is a very smooth feeling 80 FPS. And I think the reason is that the 1% lows are quite close to the average FPS. So that gives it a bit of a smoother feeling. This feels like what 120 FPS normally feels like. Which I'd say is pretty good praise actually. It doesn't feel as smooth as if you really tune this game up and get it running at 140 FPS. It would feel smoother then, but it's perfectly playable. And of course, this being 1440p on a more sort of budget-orientated system is not bad. It's not bad, and it feels pretty good. If you turn the settings down to low, you'd probably be knocking on the door of 100 FPS, because we're definitely GPU bound at the moment, as you can see, 98% GPU usage there. So it is the GPU that's the bottleneck here. I'll be honest, I forgot to record an outro, so why don't you just go down to the comments and tell me what you think the best value build right now is, and I'll see you in the next video.